For those who hear, let them hear. For those who see, let them see. May the Christ within illumine the world, and know that God is one with thee. Melchizedek, Truth Principle. Cheating in thought. How blessed is man in the sight of God. How glorified is man in the sight of God. His greatness is as great as his Creator, and his glory is of the fullness of God. Man's power is the power of God. Man's strength is the strength of God. There is no weakness in man, and there is no limitation. Man is spirit, the perfect image, the perfect likeness of God. Whatever imperfection there may be is the imperfection of the flesh. As true as the words have been uttered, so it is. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Many are called, few are chosen. Why should not all who are called be chosen? Only that man does not choose to accept. Why the appearance of physical infirmity in the presence of the declaration of God's truth? Why seeming continued infirmity? Why not an immediate response? Man, in his quest for health of body, peace of mind, success and abundance in all his affairs, too often is prone to forget and in so doing to look back. How long has man lived in erroneous thinking? How quick does man change his thinking? Error exists only in the manner in which man expresses himself in his thinking. The more he thinks of God and his relationship to God, his true relationship, the sooner the desired results become manifestly evident in his physical body and in all his affairs. Quite frequently, when man begins to forsake the old for the new, he hesitates and will say to himself, well, I would take a chance and indulge in a little bit of my old thinking. It shall not matter. I have yet time. I shall correct it soon, and all shall be well. And that is a mistake. To he who becomes, shall I say, spontaneously divorced, instantly separated from the mass race consciousness, making the declaration to be no part of it ever, and making that declaration in all sincerity, it is he who is never prone to stumble or fall over the obstacles in the path caused by improper or erroneous thinking, before his desire to travel the path of spirit. Sincerity of purpose must become established. And when there will become an appearance of a recurrence of something of the old, it is then at that time that man shall remain steadfast, positive, in complete surrender, regardless of appearance. God does not tempt his children. God's children are prone to tempt God. And how does this happen? Well, he who is not steadfast from the beginning is prone to say, oh, I shall leave this all to God. There is no longer any need or reason for me to be cautious or careful. And that is to be found particularly among those who are yet desirous of holding on to the old and tasting of the new. And I am speaking of their first attempt in changing their thought. I can take a little chance. It shall not matter. God will forgive me. My dear ones, there is no need for God to forgive, for God has never held man in account. God has never judged man. God has never suffered man's body to pain, nor has he suffered his coffers to be empty. God has not caused persecution, limitation. Therefore, man but tempts himself. And shall man stumble and fall along the path in his pursuit of spiritual fulfillment, he neglects to look back to the time when he did a little cheating along the way. Should there come a moment along or across the mystic's path when the clouds of distress hang heavy and low, let him take an inventory of his beginning, when he first set foot upon the path of a spiritual enlightenment, and let him say, "What have I done that transgression is now giving its appearance?" Medical science has declared that physical pain is natural alarm's clock, telling man that there is something amiss in his conduct, and that is well founded. But medical science failed to recognize that which is amiss has its origin in man's thinking. Error thoughts are not erased in the twinkling of an eye. Therefore, when one is in pursuit of spiritual happiness, and there comes the appearance of physical distress, financial lack, or whatever it may be, let the one say to himself, "My prayer shall be more perfect. There is yet a little house cleaning of the old, of the past. It is not all gone." There has been a statement made by many: when man does not forget, he has not forgiven. And that can be well accepted. For unless man forgets all of the past, there is no room for complete forgiveness. Now remember, God has no reason to forgive. Man must forgive himself, and man can only forgive himself his debt of the past. He can only forgive that debt and redeem that debt by completely forgetting. If there has been a habit, it must be erased. There is a danger in pushing it back into the thought chamber, for there it lays like a seed in the soil, and at some unguarded moment, a thought kindred to it may be planted alongside of it. Companion seeds are dangerous. Therefore, man must ever be alert to his perfect oneness with the perfect principle, God. It is a very good mental exercise for man to indulge in during his last waking moments, just before sleep overtakes consciousness. And it is done in this wise: all of error which has surrounded me during my waking state is no part of me. I surrender to the fullness of God's pure, sustaining love. I am his child, and God is perfect. Or words to that effect, thoughts to that effect. And should there be, perchance, some tiny, lurking, undesirable thought from some action or some attraction during the waking hours, it shall be eradicated. Memory is dangerous when memory is not sweet and pure. Why does man, when he is seemingly sitting on a high possible pinnacle of progress, find himself slipping and falling? It is only because at some unguarded moment, even though it were a slighting covetous thought entered his consciousness, and perchance he was totally aware of it at the time, but said, "Oh, that little thought shall not hurt. I am strong enough to overcome that. I am close enough to God. That little thought shall not matter." And that is dangerous. That is what may be called taking a chance on the losing side of the ledger. We have used this illustration before. May we use it again, please? Have you ever watched the tiny snowflakes buffeted about by the wind? Seemingly helpless little things. But one by one, they fell upon another. One by one, they fall alongside another, and gather until at last in numbers they become veritable mountains. Mountains of strength, blocking mode of travel, making it difficult for man to get about. Tiny little snowflakes, seemingly helpless, yet together becoming a great power. Tiny little thoughts, seemingly unnoticed. Thoughts with idle concern are like tiny snowflakes, one upon another, one alongside of another. The humble Nazarene understood the power of thought, for he said, "If ye forgive not, how can your Father forgive?" That is a translation as you read it. But the humble Galilean made the statement in this manner: "If ye forgive not, how therefore can acceptance and forgiveness so become? You would not crowd a vessel from which you were eating with that which was unclean, for it will be contaminated, the food you had in the vessel." I am leaving this lesson with you, dear ones, for the hour shall strike when someone shall cross your path and with complaint, perhaps question. Therefore, it is exceedingly wise to have the proper answer at the proper time in the proper place. Our lesson at this moment is not in direct criticism of any one of you, dear beloved. But if you will contemplate the lesson, it will prove to be of invaluable wisdom to you as you travel along the path of spiritual illumination. Good night.